Welcome to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast with Jacob Ayers, providing actionable content to help you along your journey to financial freedom through real estate investing. As the premier asset class, real estate has helped ordinary people just like you amass fortunes. The benefits of passive income from real estate investing will allow you to live a life you want. And now, your host, entrepreneur, real estate investor, and apartment deal syndicator, Jacob Ayers.
Hi, and welcome to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast, episode 150. Hi, I'm your host, Jacob Ayers. Thanks so much for tuning in. You are listening to Friday Fundamentals. Well, not so long ago, I plugged in this very USB mic I'm speaking into right now into the side of my laptop and hit record for the very first episode of the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast. Not so long after that, it seemed we hit the milestone of 100 episodes, and today here we are with 150 episodes under our belt. So just doing a little reflecting here, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to listen to all of these episodes. But most importantly, I hope you're getting value from the guests and these Friday Fundamental segments. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen every week. And thank you for your reviews and your comments and your feedback. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm having fun delivering content to you. So thank you so much. If you haven't yet, please go over and leave a rating and review on whichever platform you're listening on. So with that, let's get into this week's Friday Fundamental. This week's Friday Fundamental is taking aim at your goals. Well, in episode 148, we discussed success and the dichotomies that come along with it. Success is something that many people strive for but don't quite have defined. In order to achieve success, however you define it, you must know what it is you're pursuing. Along the journey to your success, you'll experience many dichotomies and must be prepared to handle those. These are the lessons extrapolated and inspired by Jocko Willink, former U.S. Navy Marine and combat veteran. This episode will focus on goal setting, but with a twist. This is another lesson yet inspired by Jocko Willink and Leif Babbin in their book, The Dichotomy of Leadership. See, success and goal setting go together hand in hand. Rarely does one achieve success without setting goals, and rarely does one set goals without defining success. So starting with the end in mind, it's important to think about what you want your life to be like. Here are some questions that will help you determine that. Who is most important to you, and how do you want to spend your time with them? What core values are important to you, i.e., money, security, health, happiness, etc.? And how do you want to spend your time right down to the very day? Do you want to work and build an empire, or retire early with maybe a modest lifestyle? These are all things to consider when building your lifestyle by design. By defining these things, you can start to picture what success looks like to you and how to get there. Now that you know what success looks like for you, you can begin setting goals to achieve that success. There are 5 specific qualities your goal must have. Without these 5 qualities, your goal is just a dream and really nothing more. Your goal must embody the acronym SMART, S-M-A-R-T. Specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, and time-bound. If your goal isn't specific, then you can get sidetracked in your journey. If your goal is simply to be rich or retire early, those are not specific enough. What does rich mean? Is it a net worth of $1 million, $10 million, $100 million? Does retire early mean at 62 and live off Social Security? Or retire at 40 and surf in San Diego for half the year? Your goal must also be measurable. If you can't measure it, you can't track your progress. It must be concrete. You must be held accountable to your goal. You can do this by telling others about your goal and even having an accountability partner or a mentor to keep you on track. If you are held accountable by reporting progress of your goal to someone else, you're much more likely to achieve it. Next, your goal should be realistic. This is one that trips many people up because people often overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. Just look at New Year's resolutions, for example. While your goal should be attainable, it should also push your limits and force you to level up in order to achieve it. And lastly, your goal must be bound by time. You must achieve your goal within a certain time frame. Otherwise, it will just be a someday goal, which isn't a goal, but rather a dream. So, a SMART goal must be specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, and time-bound. If setting goals sounds like a waste of time to you and you're just going to go full steam ahead, barreling towards success that you likely don't have defined, then you may want to rethink your strategy. Jocko Willink talks about a lesson he learned on the battlefield and how it relates to the real world. You see, Jocko was in command of a task unit comprised of 2 platoons. He was leading his troops on a high-stakes mission in Ramadi, Iraq, just like he had for hundreds of missions prior. He and his team were clearing a building, and they came across a scenario which required direction from Jocko. They knew the layout of the building prior to breaching it, but as with anything in Ramadi, there was a surprise. There was a hallway to an unknown door. Jocko had to make a call. Breach the door with explosive charges, devastating everything on the other side, or make forcible entry with a less lethal option. Jocko, along with his team of Navy SEALs, was staring down the barrel of his rifle, aim on the door. It was in this moment he realized that he could only see down this one line of sight and wasn't getting the full picture. Jocko pointed his weapon to the ceiling, looked around, scanning his surroundings. He assessed the situation and made the call not to breach the door with explosive charges, due to the unknown on the other side. After less fatally breaching the door with force, Jocko and his team found on the other side a family who would have been severely injured by the blast had they breached with an explosive charge. Jocko and his team had defined what a successful mission would be. No casualties to their men or civilians. With their targets set, they set out to execute their mission. In the midst of the action, Jocko realized he could only see what he was aiming at, both literally and figuratively. Sure, he was aiming at the right thing, but what else around him had changed? The goal was the same. The approach had changed. It took Jocko adjusting his aim, looking around, and assessing the situation to make the call and stay on the path to executing the platoon's goal. So, how does this relate to goal setting for you? Great question. See, just like Jocko in the Charlie platoon, you too are on a mission to success. You must define that success, set goals to achieve that success, and make a plan of action. Sometimes you have to look around and make sure you're still on the right path to success. Tunnel vision is good if you're in the right tunnel. If you've strayed off path, you might never know without reassessing your end goal and your current path to get there. So, what are you aiming at? Are you on track to achieve your goals? Do you have goals set to achieve success? It's important to live intentionally and with purpose. Create your lifestyle by design. Define success, set goals, and take aim at your targets. Remember, enjoy the journey and look around every now and then. Well, that wraps up this week's episode of Friday Fundamentals. I hope you're getting value from these shows. If you like what you've heard, please go over and leave a rating and review on whichever platform you're listening on. And if you have any questions or want to reach out to me ever, talk about real estate or talk about goal setting or anything like that, anything on your mind, feel free to reach out to me. You can contact me at www.jacobayers.com/contact. I look forward to hearing from you. Till next week, engineer the lifestyle you want.
You've been listening to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast, providing you actionable content to build your real estate empire. Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for personal advice. The opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have a potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom, LLC, exclusively.